Hi, it's Kate from Both Hands Crafts, and I'm here today to show you how to get started with one of our mosaic kits. So you'll see here all the elements that come with the kit. In addition to the instructions, we have a cradled wood panel with the design printed on it, a tile nipper, some natural stones, and our adhesive. You'll see I'm working on the box that the kit came in, and I just unwrapped that. You can also work on a drop cloth, an old towel, whatever you would be comfortable getting a little bit messy. I also recommend having a towel or a washcloth handy, or even a box, something to cut the tiles into to sort of contain the debris. We're going to be working on the offset pattern in the cream travertine colorway. So we've got this nice kind of craggy travertine, and that's complemented with a kind of simple, smooth limestone here. And the design is meant to be very simple, creates kind of an optical illusion, but it's really intended to be very simple to do for all beginners. It's more like putting together a puzzle and gluing it down, and then at the end you'll have a nice piece of wall art. And just want to make sure that we are always safe when we're doing mosaic. This is an entry-level kit, and it's designed to have sort of minimal tile cutting needed. It's mostly straight lines, but still, there will be some cutting involved. And although kids can certainly be involved in this project, we recommend that only adults are involved in the tile cutting. The kids can be involved in the tile selection and the gluing and placement. So this color here, the travertine, is going to be anywhere that there's a number 1 on the pattern, and the limestone is going to be the number 2. It's meant to be stacked. And so you'll just follow the pattern and be laying out the tiles. I suggest doing a section at a time. So in this case, I would do the full kind of L shape of this block here. I would glue it down and then I'd move on to the next. And so you'll want to kind of just like lay out a lot of your stones and just start to play around. This is where the kind of puzzle making aspect of this comes in. So you're looking to, in my case, I like to minimize cutting to the degree that I can, and really see if I can get it lined up with the stones as they come. It doesn't have to be exact, but you do, in terms of following the pattern, it may vary because the sizes of the stones will vary, but you do want to get the stones as close together as possible, because in this case we're using an adhesive rather than a thin set or any kind of grout that would come on, that you would smooth over on top. So we'll just be gluing one side and placing it down. You'll simply just put a little bit of glue, and that's good enough. You don't need to saturate it. It dries pretty strong and it will dry clear. So don't worry about if there's any of the white visible. Even if it gets on top of your tile, it'll dry clear. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to keep these lined up to the degree that you can. I also recommend sort of starting in the corner of each section. That'll make it a little bit easier for you. And I also suggest, when you do start getting little pieces mixed in, to kind of put them in the middle so they're not always at the end of each section. That can start to make your pattern look a little cluttered. So here I'm definitely going to need to cut. And so the recommendation would be, you can try to cut, maybe you'll be lucky and you'll cut it exactly right the first time with the first stone. If that doesn't work, I would recommend, rather than like continuing to try to cut one stone down to the exact measurement you want, just sort of put that aside and keep trying with a few other stones to see if you can get it to break the way that you want it. And then you can always come back to that piece later. So again, it's kind of like a puzzle making process, and you're going to be, as you go through, trying to find the right piece in the right place at different times. So you can just have sort of a stockpile of the smaller odd size pieces. But so in this case, I have two choices. I can either cut this piece to try to make it a little bit shorter, or I can cut this piece. So I'll just try and cut this piece to about here. So I just kind of eyeball that. I'm going to put it into my tile nipper. So you can see here, I'm kind of lining that up, making sure that that's straight. And then again, I'm going to cut it into this towel so that it doesn't go flying anywhere and we can stay safe. So this actually cut at an angle, which, maybe works, actually works here. So we'll add that in. These can complement each other. You'll see the lines coming through, but just make sure to cover that as you go. If that becomes an issue and you understand the layout of the pattern, in this case it's pretty simple, you can also take some water and wipe it. It is erasable marker. And so this pattern is alternating between these two different types of stone. So the next row would be then one. So it's basically going one row of travertine, 2 rows of limestone, so on and so forth. And they're slightly different widths as well. So you'll want to take a look at that and factor that into your selection. Less important that you're getting the line covered, and more important that you're creating a straight line with the stones themselves so that they match in width. Because again, since we won't have grout, you want to keep the stones as tightly packed together as you can. The further you get into it, the more you're going to have to cut the stone. So starting out at the outside, the longer stones will fit, and then the closer you get to the center, the more you'll have to do some tweaking. When you're done, you don't need to do anything else. You just let it dry. It dries pretty quickly, but you probably want to let it dry for, let's say, 24 hours before you start moving it around. And then it is ready to display. It should be kept indoors. It's not, weatherproof, but for indoor art, it should be fine just on its own with nothing to seal it, unless you'd like to seal it to get a shinier finish. That's not included, but that's something that you could explore. And so that gets you going with the Mosaic kit. You just continue with that around the full pattern, and each pattern includes, different types of stones, but follows the same process. When you're finished, I like working on the box that the kit comes in so that I can just sort of fold it up and throw it away. If you did work on another work surface and you need to wipe, make sure you never wipe with your hands. Make sure you use a towel, paper towel, something with a spray, just because some of those little that debris can be sharp and can irritate your skin or cut your skin. So do be careful with that. But otherwise, that's about all you need to know to get started, and would love to see your works as you create them. Please post on social and tag us, both Hands Crafts, on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and enjoy.